underneath your sophomore theory, it says week 5 and 6, which isn't really the case, but that's where we're at, all right, which is our online portfolio setup. All right. Basically, what we're going to do is you all have Behance accounts because Behance is linked with Adobe. So you use your Adobe credentials to get in. And after we get done with this whole presentation, I'll have you try that so that anyone who's having issues, I can fix. Okay? Your layout, your finished project in Illustrator, all right, you want to try to show process, all right, and show variations. So I'm going to show you an example like the logo assignment, okay, your branding assignment. You want to show the variations, show where you were coming from, show how you were doing it, all right? You're going to mock up your design if needed, so I'll show you how to do that in a second, all right? And then it's going to be brought into that layout. Your Illustrator document is going to be 1,400 pixels wide. Now, how tall it is going to depend on how much you want to put into it, all right? So this is an example here that Mr. Nagel put together. And basically, Behance has its own options. You can do a slideshow, you can do a few other things, but they're really limiting in terms of how you lay it out. So we're going to skip that, and we're just going to lay it out in Illustrator and make it easier. It's actually easier to do it this way, all right? So in Behance, I can click on this, and it'll give me a full range look at it, and then I can click in and look at the different pieces. Okay? You don't have to section it off this way. Right? This is called a mock-up, as is this. All right? And again, I'll show you quickly how to do that. So that's sort of the process that what we're looking at. You know, you're going to take your 5 pieces, each piece, and you're going to mock it up, set it up. I don't want it just plopped in there. All right? Your rubric for this particular process is right here. So you get 25 points for variety, 25 points for quality, 25 points for the process of putting it together, and 25 points for, there's 2 quality. We'll have to fix that. 3 quality, all right? So looking at how you're putting it together, all right? How did you lay it out? How does the final piece look, all right? This shouldn't take a ton of time in terms of your project unless you really want to fix it, all right? But I think a lot of you, for most, are pretty close. So as far as Behance goes, when you first log in, this is what you see, all right? And my little icon up here, I can click on my ID, and I can see my profile. And right now, I don't have really any projects, all right? And basically, what you're going to do is you're going to start up here and hit Create Project, all right? And you're just going to upload your piece, all right? We're going to export it as a JPEG, so all we would do is click Image. So let me show you what we're going to do. So I would start off with this particular project. So here's my piece, all right? I'm going to make a new document in Illustrator, and I'm going to have to switch to pixels. And I want it 1440 and 792 is fine for now, all right? So here's my starting document. Now remember, I can always just take my Artboard tool and drag it longer. You can go as long as you need, all right? You don't want to go any wider. 1440 is default for like most monitors, right? You want to be about that size just so everybody can see it. So for now, I've got this. So what I'm going to start with is my variations. And maybe I want to have, Mr. Nagel had it on gray. I'm going to keep it on white. I'm going to take these and just copy them and bring them over here. And I want to show sort of my process and where I was going and what I wanted to show the client. So I would plop these together, try to get them all in the same line. All right, I'm going to shrink them down. Now, you may want to emphasize one of them, so maybe you take this, and this one gets larger, okay? Now, maybe I want to show this on a shirt. All right, there are numerous ways and places you can find that. So you can show just a blank shirt. You could show a model in the shirt, all right? So I'll just quickly go up and I'll look at, all right, do my image search, get my large image, all right? And I might pick one. This one looks good. Open a new tab, okay? Drag it down, okay? Now, I'm going to pull this into Photoshop, all right? Because this is where I'm going to do my mock-up. Now, depending on how tricky you want to get, you might have to do a little bit of work in Photoshop. All right, so if we want to wrap it around a mug, we want to do something like that, we might want to get a little tricky. Okay, if it's just a basic shirt, it's not going to be that difficult. So I can actually, take my logo, I can copy and paste, all right? And then, whoop, I forgot, you don't want me to do it as a shift anymore. Take my shirt, all right, and what I can do, so right now it's a smart object when I copy and paste. Anybody remember what a smart object is in Photoshop? It's smart. A smart object is Photoshop's way of dealing with vector graphics. All right? And this is actually, I could go in and edit the original and it would update in Photoshop. It's kind of like placing. It's not my favorite thing in Photoshop. All right? But it's quick to drag in. So what I can actually do is I can right click on here and I can just say rasterize, which just turns it into a normal layer. Now, I could go in here and I could change the blend mode and I could say overlay. Okay, and you'll notice it disappears. So sometimes these blend modes will help you sort of blend it in. You'll notice that with this one, I can almost see the texture in the shirt. See that when I move it? See how you sort of see through it?
No. Yes.
Look up here.
I don't see it.
All right, watch. See that? Look at this right here. Now, if I pick a mode, look at. So right here on linear burn, I can actually see through it a little bit, the texture of the shirt. So I could take this, all right, and flatten it. And now I can save this. And then I would bring that piece into my layout. Okay, now if I do this, I'm going to have to take this piece and move it in front. All right, so you want to mock it up. You want to show variation. So in Mr. Nagel's example, all right, he breaks it down in sections, and you can certainly do that. Dark to light, that type of thing, okay? He sets up, he had a business card, so he puts a business card. You don't have business cards for NASA, but you could do something like this, okay? And the key here is that just plopping the logo in isn't going to make it look professional. Mocking it up, setting it up as a true layout is what you're really looking to try to do, okay? So basically, once I've got this, let's say I want to take this, and we'll go here, send it to back, all right? Let's pull him down a little bit. I have my piece, all right? I'm going to export it as a JPEG. So we'll say, Bergam. Click on Use Artboards. If you don't check Use Artboards, when it exports a JPEG, if you have something on the side, it's going to take that with it, all right? So I export this. So now this piece is what I'm going to do with my Behance. So if I go to my Behance account, I'm like, all right, I'm starting a new project. I'm going to go here. Here's my piece, okay? I can continue. I can say Bergam brand. You can tag it. Okay, that's up to you. You can either save it as a draft or you can publish it. So I can publish it for now. It wants me to do graphic design, sure. All right. And you can always go back and edit it. Okay? So let's say I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, that's great, but I want to move this over. You go back to your Illustrator layout, you change it, you export it, all right, and you update it. The key here is keep your Illustrator layout. All right? When I go back here and I've got this particular piece, I want to go to File, Save As, all right, and this would just be, all right, so that I have that. You should have your Illustrator layouts for each piece in case you have to go back, in case I say to you, oh, you got to change this, and you're like, I got rid of the Illustrator file. I'm like, you got a little work to do, okay? I would suggest very simple. What I would do is I would have all of your portfolio in one Illustrator file. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so all I would do is take this artboard, all right, duplicate it, or add artboards here. So you're going to have 5 projects. You would have 5 artboards. And each project is right there. So you have it all in one place. Okay? So that when you're done, you'll have all of your assignments. Now, let's say you guys have some really cool illustrated postcards, right? Let's say you had an illustrated postcard and you wanted to emphasize one piece of it. So you have the whole postcard up there, right? And let me give you a visual example so that I'm not just speaking and you're sort of staring at me. So let's say, we've got this. And I bring this in to Illustrator. Of course it is. It's Monday. Good. Fantastic. Great. Grand. That's cool. All right. I get distracted quickly. All right. So let's say I've got this poster, and let's pretend it's high resolution. All right. And I want to emphasize like the building. Okay. I may just draw a square over, Command 7, and take this one piece and like enlarge it down here somewhere. So that when they're panning through the poster, they see the whole poster like, oh, the poster's cool, and you can emphasize a piece you want them to see. Every one of your postcards has some really super detail in it, and it'd be nice to really emphasize that particular piece of detail. Does that make sense how I'm showing that? And again, because you've got your illustrated postcard, so you can show your illustrated postcard, and then it's like, well, how am I supposed to make this look creative? How am I supposed to mock it up? And the idea would be to emphasize a couple of pieces of it that you really wanted to show off. Okay? So this process, we're going to kind of go through and hopefully get a chance to look at, we'll critique our pieces a little bit, is not due until June 11th, which is your last day in shop. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this?